The Eagles literally won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. It hasn't been very long since Philadelphia has been in the big game. The Eagles looked very different then. Carson Wentz was supposed to be the franchise quarterback. Nick Foles ended up coming in and winning it all. And Doug Pederson was the Eagles head coach. It was a very different Philadelphia team. Fast forward to today, and it's Nick Sirianni's team. He led the Eagles to the playoffs in his first season as the head coach a year ago. The Eagles went 9-8, and they made it to the wild card where they lost to the Buccaneers. This time, Philadelphia is a lot better and back in the Super Bowl with a chance at a second ring. Jalen Hurts looks like an MVP candidate, and the Eagles overall have the best offense in the NFL with a very good defense to follow. Philadelphia is only one win away from another Super Bowl, and Jalen Hurts has been the biggest piece of that puzzle. But first, thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Me and Darren both listen to music every single day, and our favorite artist is John Bellion, and there's no better way to listen than with our Raycon earbuds. They are perfect for listening to music while you're working out or just doing regular tasks around the house. Not only do Raycon everyday earbuds sound just as good as other wireless earbud brands, but they offer the same premium quality, if not better, at half the price. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, sound, and feel better than ever. They're built to withstand sweat and they're water resistant, so if you mess up like I have a couple times and accidentally put your earbuds in your pocket and then ran your laundry, they'll be okay. My favorite feature is definitely using the noise isolation or the awareness mode. That way I can easily listen to what's around me with awareness mode if I need to actually be aware of my surroundings, and if I just want to block out everything, I can use noise isolation and just kind of focus in to the task that I'm trying to get done. Click the link in the description below or go to buyraycon.com/JD Productions to get 15% off your order. Again, click the link in the description below or go to buyraycon.com/JD Productions to get 15% off your order. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. The Eagles have done a very good job of completely building around Jalen Hurts. I think it was a little risky, but Philadelphia decided it was best to build around him, and clearly it's worked for the best. I think it's still pretty insane that the Eagles even decided to draft Hurts. That offseason, the Eagles gave Carson Wentz a massive extension and then decided to immediately turn around and use a second-round pick on a quarterback. It was an odd move to say the least, but somehow it worked to perfection. Hurts had some good moments last season, but it was nothing compared to what we've seen this year. He had 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions in 2021, and he's improved to 22 touchdowns to 6 interceptions this season. It's no doubt that he's been better in every way. The success of Jalen Hurts is a very interesting case because I do think there are plenty of reasons to give him a lot of credit and plenty of other reasons where you can look the other direction and kind of belittle what he's done this season. There have directly been two big moves that the Eagles have made that have been huge benefits to Jalen Hurts and essentially led to his breakout. Philadelphia decided to use a first-round pick on Devontae Smith. Not only was Devontae a very good player in college, but he also played with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. The two had a ton of success together, and what bringing in Devontae more than anything did was give Hurts some familiarity. It wasn't a very crazy thing to do. The Dolphins did it by drafting Jalen Waddle to pair him with Tua Tagovailoa. The Bengals drafted Jamar Chase to put him with Joe Burrow. And last season, the Cardinals traded for Hollywood Brown to pair him with Kyler Murray. It's been the popular thing to do just to pair a college quarterback and his wideout together because it has worked so well. And that was the case for Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts. Smith already had solidified himself as a solid receiver, and Hurts made some big strides in 2021, but then the Eagles made a huge jump by trading for A.J. Brown, and that's what really has set the Eagles apart this year. I think Devontae Smith has the talent to be a fine number one wideout, but A.J. Brown is one of the best in the league, and if Devontae is your number two, your offense is probably pretty good. The Eagles' offensive line has arguably been the best unit on the team. Philadelphia's line is without any doubt the best in the league. and has for the most part made Jalen Hurts' life very, very easy this season. And that's what makes Jalen Hurts so difficult to analyze. He's been put in a perfect situation, and that has been the biggest reason for his success. You can make the vast majority of quarterbacks look good if you have the best offensive line in the league. He has amazing weapons all around him, and even when he does come up short, his failures can be masked by the Eagles' dominant defense. So yes, Jalen Hurts is maybe overblown if someone is trying to put them in the same breath as some of the truly best quarterbacks in the NFL. But there is one big caveat. How many quarterbacks are in a perfect situation? There is always a way to belittle a young quarterback and have some kind of explanation for their success. Joe Burrow is quickly cementing himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he has had the benefit of two of the best wideouts in the league in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Don't even start on Patrick Mahomes. He inherited a perennial playoff team with one of the greatest coaches of all time and arguably both the best wide receiver and tight end in the league. If anyone walked in and got lucky earlier in their career, it was Mahomes, but he succeeded with it. Jalen Hurts ended up dealing with a shoulder injury later in the season, and he still kind of is, but he was shut down for 2 weeks, and it completely changed the Eagles. Philadelphia looked like a different team and did have a lot of problems. People like to use that Week 16 game versus the Cowboys, and pretty much either way of how they want you to view Jalen Hurts. On one hand, Gardner Minshew did pass for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for 1 more. The Eagles lost, but hey, the offense scored 34 points. Those alone definitely help the anti-Jalen Hurts agenda, but there's a lot more to the story. Minshew turned the ball over 3 times, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. That alone will help you lose a game, and Minshew was even worse the following week, and the Eagles managed to lose to the okay-at-best Saints. There was a very clear disparity between Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew, and Philadelphia needs him to be as good as they want to be, essentially. Hurts returned in Week 18, and he looked fine against the Giants. I think he got rid of a lot of those worries that people had about his shoulder. It was at least going to be good enough. The Eagles were the number 1 seed in the NFC, and that gave Hurts an extra week to rehab with Philadelphia on a bye. The Eagles ended up with the exact same matchup in Week 18 against the Giants. The outcome was very different. You can probably tell the Eagles weren't playing for nearly as much other than a first-round bye in Week 18, because then in the divisional round, the Eagles absolutely killed the Giants. Philadelphia went up 28-0, and New York really never stood a chance. The Eagles ended up winning 38-7 in blowout fashion to advance to the NFC Championship, where Philly beat the 49ers 31-7. There is no doubt in my mind that the Eagles are overall the best team in the league. The best team doesn't always win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Philadelphia is going to win, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would 100% be the Eagles. The Giants couldn't do anything against them. New York didn't stand a chance. The Eagles beat them in both meetings in the regular season, and then with Philadelphia in playoff mode, they looked even better than before. The Eagles hit a blip late in the regular season that I thought could maybe derail their postseason run, but that clearly wasn't the case, and a huge win over the 49ers confirmed that. I think a lot of people are going to look back at that 49ers game and essentially point out that both Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson got hurt, and that did leave San Francisco without a single functioning quarterback. Brock Purdy ended up just tearing his UCL. So when he did come back into the game, the 49ers could really only run the ball, and that did in the game, essentially. I do think that the Eagles were winning that game either way. The way the first 2 drives had gone, it seemed like Philadelphia was in control. Of course, it's hard to know if that would have continued for the entirety of a game, but I do think that's going to raise a lot of questions about the Eagles. And I think there are 2 ways to view the Philadelphia Eagles and this Super Bowl run. And I do believe they are going to win it all. And I think people are either going to try to belittle this run or try to hype up this run. And I think there's one of 2 ways to do that. First and foremost, the Eagles have had a very, very easy run to the Super Bowl. And that's going to be something that comes up a lot, is how easy this run was. They got a first-round bye, which I'm not even going to belittle. They earned the first-round bye. That was huge. They were a very good team. They then played a 6-seed Giants, turned around and had to play a 49ers team that did not have a quarterback, and now get to play Patrick Mahomes on one leg. I think there are still good teams they're having to play, but the Eagles have gotten very, very lucky. And I do think there's a chance that this game is looked back on and people are essentially going to say that the Eagles had one of the easiest Super Bowl runs of all time. And I do agree with that in some way, but there is a big part that you can't just gloss over, and that is that you cannot disagree that the Eagles were not the best team in football all year. The Eagles were the last undefeated team standing. They were overall the best team in football all season long. The only time they had an issue was when their starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was hurt. Other than that, the Eagles dominated all season long. Jalen Hurts, going into the Super Bowl, has lost one game this season, and it came against Washington. That is it. One loss. The Eagles may have had a bit of an easy road to the Super Bowl, but don't get it twisted. They have been all season and are the most talented team in the NFL. And if they win the Super Bowl, that vindicates everybody who thinks that.